I'm thrilled to have my next guest. We actually met about a year ago at a mastermind, and I'm so thrilled to have my friend, Dr. Mary Kang. She's going to talk about, yes, a doctor going from being a dentist now as a real estate investor. So, welcome, Dr. Mary Kang, to the show.
Hi, Pam. I always say Mary.
All right. I know I
Hi.
have to give you the formal introduction. I'd love for you to tell. I find your story absolutely amazing. I mean, the first time we met by the by the food truck in Miami at the mastermind and instantly connected because trying to get, more women to invest in real estate. But I'd love for you just to, share your journey. I mean, reading about you and where you are today, I feel a lot of people can, relate to, your story, especially the part, being in debt.
Yeah. Um, yeah, so I'm a dentist by profession and I have all the degrees and accolades and titles you can imagine. So, society teaches you about like going to college, getting good grades, and doing well in society and becoming a doctor, a lawyer. And that's the track I went, but I never knew anything about money. So I never thought I would go into real estate investing until so I teach full time at a dental school, and I was on the dean track to become the dean of a school. So I've been a part of that school for over 2 decades, and there's so many problems in the school that I just want to fix all the problems. And I want to fix all the problems. So I thought the way to do that is to become the dean of a school. So I applied to this program called Leadership Institute. And that's where they train dental faculties nationwide for 1 year. And they train you to become deans eventually when it becomes our time. So on the first day of orientation, there was about 30 of us. They divided us into groups. And then they had a dental school dean be our mentor for the year. So on the first day of orientation, the dean was sitting right across from me. And I said, "Hey, can I ask you a question?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure." And I was like, "Oh, what do you do as dean?" And then he was like, "What do you mean?" And I was like, "Oh, what do you do day in, day out? Like, what do you do every day?" And do you know what his response was?
Yeah, you
When,
would think helping students, helping make the school better, all of that, correct?
yeah, that's what I thought, which is why I joined this program. But his response was he fundraises for the school. Like, that's what he does every day, fundraising. And as soon as he said fundraising, like my heart just sank because I was like, I don't like to ask anyone for anything, let alone money. So I was just like, oh my God. And then I said, "Oh, so do you get a lot of donations from alumni?" And I know what the answer is. And I was just trying to see what his reaction was. And he was just like, "Oh no, they're the worst. They never donate." And in my head, I'm thinking, yeah, no, no shit, Sherlock. Part of my language, but I was like, yeah, like I know what's going on in the school. So like I was curious. I was like, "Oh, so if alumni don't donate," I said, "Who's your number one donor?" And he said, "Real estate investor." And I never heard of that term before. I was like, "What's a real estate investor?" Because I was thinking, I need to become that so that I can donate to implement changes for the school. So he's telling me what real estate investors do. And during the break at that meeting, I was just checking my phone and I started getting advertisements on real estate investing. I swear to God, my phone's like, this
Listening.
thing is this thing is listening to you. I started getting advertisements on real estate investing. So a book popped up called Rich Dad Poor Dad. And I literally ordered that book while I was at the meeting at the Leadership
Wow.
Institute. When I came home from the meeting, it arrived and I started reading it and I couldn't put it down. I was like, oh my God, I'm poor dad. Like, I have all these titles, degrees, and accolades. I'm like, for what? Like, my financial IQ was zero. I, I was in so much in student loan debt, but I never even thought about it. I was going to take out more student loans to get my PhD for this dean position. that's how like ignorant I was about student loans and finances. So now I pivoted and now I'm going into real estate investing.
So what year was that? I know studying, you've gone to some, top dental school in the country on the West Coast,
Mhm.
correct, and the East Coast. Did you, I mean, just that was the first time hearing about real estate investing. And how long ago was that?
That was like in 20, I think it was in 22, March of 22
So just a
when I
couple
heard about
years
it.
ago. And
Yeah.
I know I've heard the amount of debt you were in. I'm not, if you want to share that.
Um, so I was in the hole when I graduated, over $800,000. And with the interest that kept compounding, I owed over $1 million. And I'm still
Wow.
paying my student loans now. Yeah.
And so
So
in dental school, it sounds like it's surprising, yeah, that they don't teach you the business or real estate investing or owning your own building to have your dental practice in there, correct? Not until maybe a couple years ago until you started educating yourself. And then last year when we, did the money is to learn about money too. I learned a lot about money too, as far as the self-directed IRAs. A lot of people don't know they have they work for a corporation and that they can use their 401k and, buy different real estate or gold and different, that. So you really have to self-educate yourself on that. So what's the, biggest thing you're learning so far in real estate investing besides starting earlier? Did your family invest at all in real estate? Tell us about where you were born and your family on, the philosophy of investing.
so I was born in New Jersey, raised in Jersey, right across the bridge. So I would sneak out of my house when I was in high school to go into the city, and now I'm in the city. So, um, yeah, actually, my dad was into business and real estate when I was younger. But I actually got into dentistry because he was losing all his teeth. So I was 7 years old, and we were eating dinner at the dinner table, and he was losing all his teeth because he smoked so much that he was in so much pain, and he was like cringing because he couldn't eat. That's how much it hurt. And I was 7 years old and I saw his face and how much agony he was in. And I was like, Dad, when I grow up, I'm going to fix your teeth for you and I'm going to be a dentist. And then he just looked at me. He goes, just be quiet. Like, just eat your dinner. And I don't know why that annoyed me. I was like, what the heck? I was like, I'm going to be a dentist. And that's when I determined I was going to be a dentist when I grow up. So as soon as I was legal to work in a dental office, I was working in my local dental office throughout high school and college. And then, yeah, that's how I ended up going into dentistry. And then my father was also doing real estate investing, and I never thought about it. And now I'm doing it myself. Um,
Oh, I love that. That is great. What impact leads you in your, life of where you go with that. And the money is, they talk about different investments. Do you want to share some of how, what's your first real estate investment you actually bought? And did it make you nervous to actually get into real estate investing? A lot of women have fear of investing. So what made you, finally go all in?
well, my financial IQ, number one. If I want to implement change, I know I need to have the funds and the money to make the donations to implement the change, I guess, indirectly. So that's why I wanted to make the change into real estate investing. And right now I'm doing a fund of funds for a multifamily deal. It's like a 432 unit in Phoenix. So I'm doing that right now.
So what does that mean actually, but just for the people viewing, what does the fund to fund mean? If you could explain that.
Yeah, so it's a very large property, and I think we needed 132 million, and we had about 80 something $1 million. That was a loan assumption, so we had to raise 40 million on the side. So we raised capital from accredited investors. So it has a main fund that collects all the money to invest in the property, but they have funds underneath it that also raises capital, which invests into the main fund. Yeah, so
So
it's
are
a
you
fund of funds.
okay? not
Yeah.
quite familiar with that. So are you helping then fundraise to add the capital for the project to acquire it?
Yeah. So
So
ironic.
you're back into raising money, but different way.
I know. And I got into capital raising, and that's now I was raising capital for this deal. But raising the capital is for their benefit as well, for their security and their retirement in the future. So if you change your perspective on that, I guess it's different. Yeah.
So what do you feel you've learned in the last couple of years? Because I know you're a diehard reader, and when you go into something, you go full, give it your all. And I've read quite a few books. Is there other books besides The Rich Dad, Poor Dad that stand out, or information, you can share lessons you've learned in the last couple of years?
Oh man. I never used to read any books.
No,
Whenever people
that's
whenever people
surprising.
said whenever people said they would read books, I was like, why? It's so boring. Like, why would you read a book? And after I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, like now I love reading books on like personal development, learning about properties and investing. Um, there's a lot of books I enjoy reading. Right now I'm reading Buckminster Fuller, The Grunch, The Grand Universal Cash Heist. So I'm reading that right now. Um,
What's that about?
it's about how Buckminster Fuller was a futurist, and
Okay.
he was also like an architect, and he really thought about the future, and he talks about how all the money is being stolen underneath our like eyes without us even knowing, how the government's like working. So I'm reading about that right now, and I actually got a tattoo yesterday.
What? Did you get
I
another
did.
one?
I did. I got this one from Jesse Itzler. Oh,
I
you
know you're a
remember this
fan
one?
fan of Jesse, and we had the opportunity to meet him.
Yeah. So I love Jesse's book too. The one Living with the Seal. That one was hilarious. That one was really good. And then yeah, there's a whole bunch of different books depending on like what topic that you enjoy, but I like mostly books on personal development and then just education on finances, I realize.
So what do you say to mainly women that may have a fear of, you know, investing in their first deal? I mean, a lot of women, have opportunities possibly. Well, first, they have to ask, but overcoming the fear of, for some reason, fear of losing money or fear of being in debt. I always thought debt was bad debt, and found out that there can be good debt too on some of these projects. If the tenant's paying all your debt, that's good. But, what do you say to some of these people that, oh, I would love to get into real estate, but I have no idea how to get started?
I mean, the thing is just to start somewhere. So go to like a local meetup. Just start. Like when I first started, I didn't know anything, but I just started taking action. I'm like, nobody wanted to come with me for these meetups. I remember I'm like, oh, I asked my friends and my colleagues, there's an event, like real estate event, do you want to come? And everybody said no. And I said, screw it. I'm just gonna go on my own. And so just take action. Even if nobody, wants to do it with you, you're going to find the right people if that's what you really want to do. When you join these groups and communities, like you're really going to find that group. Like that's where I found you. And now we're good friends. And I notice a lot of my close friends right now are from these groups because we have the same mindset. And it's like you're changing and you're growing. And I realize like the people that I used to hang out with and the discussions we had, it just bores me now. Like they talk about the old days and they talk about, the sports or the weather. And I'm like, I don't really care. Like, but I love talking about personal development, finances, real estate. So just take action and just do what your heart, in your gut, what you're feeling. Even if you're scared, sometimes that's the best time to take action. Like get comfortable being uncomfortable. Like when you're uncomfortable and you take that action, that first step, that's just going to make you more comfortable. And the next time it won't be so scary. And then that's how you keep growing. So just take that first step.
Yeah, that's great advice. I know you're in the New York City area, which how's the real estate market in your area?
Ugh, not the best. Yeah, there's a lot of squatters and there's yeah, I try not to invest in New York, but I'm looking maybe in New Jersey and more in like commercial real estate. It's a little bit rough, I think, out here just because they favor the tenants so much and the tenants
Mm,
have so much rights, even though they might not be in the right. And that makes it difficult, I think, for investors.
that's true. I know you really have to do your homework in some of those states, and because they're all different. That's why I know a lot of people like to invest. We're here in Texas, and a state tax free. People like that. Florida, Tennessee, those three are really booming and good opportunities. And the prices of commercial real estate land can still be affordable compared to some of those places, like where you are, and can be difficult to get in. And I think the other thing is a lot of people really think you have to have a lot of money to get started too. And we've learned from being in a mastermind together that some of these, may only require a couple $1,000s down, or $25,000 down, or, get your friends and family and put it all together if you can. Or, some of them are a lower amount than what a lot of people expect, that you have to have millions to invest. Is that what you're seeing, when you got started?
Yeah, I'm also in Pace Morby's group for creative financing. So he talks a lot about how you don't have to use your own money for investing. And you can always raise capital from other like investors, like private money lenders, hard money lenders, and there's ways around it where you don't have to use your own money. And he always says if you use your own money, you're being lazy. You're not being creative. So
Yeah,
there's ways around it. It's just more work, and sometimes people don't want to put in that work and effort, but it's possible. Yeah.
I know. I always said, OPM,
Hmm.
which I say is other people's millions. So,
Nice.
which I always try to get seller financing. And that's a good way to put it. You're lazy if you're using your own money. And we've seen a lot of these people that have a lot of money also use other people's money. They're not using their own money. They're, asking their friends and family to invest in a property. And that's really the way to go. It's finding the deal. Like I always said, the money is the easy part. It's actually finding the deal can be, one of the trickiest parts. But if you're out there networking, talking to people, and have the mindset, you can work on deals together. What do you see as far as, do you think you'll continue as real estate investor and be that full-time career, or be able to do, because you're able to do both right now, and I think that's great.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard because my time is so like packed right now because I teach full time. I work private practice part time. I do real estate, the fund managing on the side. And then I got my whole life insurance license. I studied it so much. Everybody was like on the Zoom calls, I was answering everybody's questions. And like a person asked me, they were like, "Hey, are you an agent or a broker?" And I said, no. But after like the 10th time on like a gazillion Zoom, I was like, maybe I should be. Like everyone's asking if I'm an agent or a broker. So I took my exam and I passed and I joined a group and now I'm working with them. So I'm also providing that on the side also because a lot of real estate investors use whole life insurance as a strategy to invest in properties. So yeah, it's come in real handy.
That's interesting. What do you have to say on that? Is that who's that a good candidate for people to buy? Are you able to sell it nationwide, or how does that actually work? What do you recommend?
The whole life insurance policy,
Mm-hmm.
it
Right, getting
depends
that
what your
policy.
yeah, it depends what your goals are because everyone's goals are different. So it's not like you do a cookie cutter like policy for everyone. Most real estate investors have a high cash value, low death benefit policy so that they can borrow against their insurance and then deploy that into an investment deal. So while it's being invested into an investment deal, your capital never goes down. It's as if it's still there and it's growing with compounding interest. So your insurance is doing multiple jobs at once. It's deployed in an investment deal to bring in more income and it's still compounding interest and it grows over the years and it matures really fast after like a certain period number of years that you hold it.
I'll have to do some research on that. Sounds interesting.
Oh my
Oh, by
God,
the
it's like a secret. It's like a
way.
secret weapon.
That's a good thing. I know, I guess, going to different masterminds. Do you have any advice on that? There's so many out there, and I always say you really need to do your research on who you're learning from and to make sure that they're actually doing what they're saying they're doing. They're not just teaching and have never done it themselves. What advice do you have on that about masterminds and coaching?
I would say invest in yourself. Like you can't learn it. I mean, you can learn it all on your own, but it's just going to take so much longer. If you have that group, that community to help you, you just go by so much faster and you meet so many people in that group that are, that think the same like you and that want the same goals like you. So it, it's also a source of encouragement to keep you uplifted because when you go back to your old group of circle and your old life, people don't think like that anymore. Like they still think the same and it sort of brings you down because I've experienced that. It's been a little bit rough sometimes when I speak to my friends and family and they're like, why are you doing that? And they're so discouraging that when I go to these events because it lifts me up, I notice like just the conversations that you have, the people that you surround yourself with, which I think it's super important to have good people surrounding you. So I love investing in myself. I'm like the first person to sign up for everything. They're like, we have this. I'm like, I'm gonna sign up. And I would tell myself, I'll be like, you're not signing up for anything this time. Like when you go to this meeting, don't sign up for anything. And I always end up signing up for something. And I'm like if I spend almost over $1 million in my dental education, I want to invest also in my real estate education because I don't know what I'm learning, but you also want to look at the mentors and who are teaching it. You want to make sure that they do what they say that they're doing and they're not just selling a course just to be a mentor. So I would really evaluate, okay, what are these people teaching? Are they implementing it? And then do the people around them, their employees, do they also do it or do they not do it? That's what I liked about like Money Is because I spoke to all the employees and they all have their self-directed accounts. They all have their Rob's accounts. And I was like, interesting. Like they actually implement what they're teaching, and then with Pace Morby's group that I'm in, he does a lot of creative financing and all his leaders that start in the community, they also do a lot of creative financing deals. So make sure that they walk the walk, not just talk the talk. That's
Yeah.
my tattoo yesterday. Acta, non
Oh,
verba.
is that what it's?
Action, not. Yeah.
What did you get it of?
I got it a quote for the Marines saying acta, non verba. So
Okay.
deeds or actions, not words.
I
Because
love
there's a
that.
lot of people that talk. Yeah, a lot of talkers out there. So you want people who are actually doing it, like you.
Right. Now, like you, for sure. And then, you know, there's so many people in debt, credit card debt, student debt, medical debt, and you've been able to find a way to how to get out of that debt. What's the number one thing that you've learned? You know, we've kind of gone over a little bit, but what do you think is really the number one way to, if somebody's out there that has debt, what do you say to them?
Um, I would say be efficient with your money because you might have a credit card that's like some people that I'm helping for their whole life policy, their credit card debt's like 20 something percent, some are 29% of interest rate, which is ridiculous. And if you can get a lump sum of money, put that into a policy, you can do like debt pay down and use the whole life insurance policy to pay down your debt and then have your money keep working for you and it doesn't get depleted. So just be strategic and efficient with your money. I know they don't teach these strategies, and if you go to a financial advisor, they won't teach it either. So just learn how money works and maximize the strategies that are available.
I love that. Yeah, a lot of things, like you mentioned, they don't even teach you that you can do that. Most people are just paying down the minimum on their credit card and not realizing how to get out of any of that kind of debt. And one of my mentors always told me that if you have to always keep thinking about, like, if you have debt and bills and all that, you cannot be creative at all. and kind of get out of that mindset of always worried about it and be able to do other things. So that's great advice. My last question I have for you what do you have on your bucket list, both personally and professionally?
Uh, Personally, I want to travel all over the world, like Croatia. That's on my bucket list. There's all these places I want to travel, but I want to travel in style. Like, you don't want to travel in economy. You want to travel in business class, stay at the nice hotels and not worry about the finances. So that's my personal bucket list, travel in style. And then for my business, I have an idea for something related to dentistry, a product I want to make.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, that's my big dream and goal right now. That's yeah, my future goal.
Well, knowing you, I know you will make it happen. You will do the research, you will read, and you will find like my hashtags, find a way. Mary, you're going to find a way to make that happen.
Oh, thanks.
Well, thank you so much for being on the show. And I'm so, glad, grateful that we met and that we are going to collaborate and do a real estate deal together, or I'm going to help you buy one and
Yes.
just keep building that wealth in real estate. Do you have any final words?
Just take action. Don't be scared. Being scared is a good thing sometimes, and get out of your comfort zone. Get comfortable being uncomfortable.
I love that. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Uh,